Hey kids, Holly here. Welcome back to my channel. I've got another video about conquering the quarantine boredom. And this one I thought, instead of doing a movie or books that I like to read, this is something that I personally find very entertaining, and I've had kind of a fixation with these books over the years and thought I'd share. And these are ones that actually get you writing, thinking, conversing, whatever the case may be. I have a lot of them, and I think I'm actually going to be working on some during the quarantine time. Now, I picked up some of these at a store called Five Below, which I don't know if any, I'm not sure where all they are. So some of you may have never, I just saw one for the first time this past year, but everything inside the store is $5 or under. So I picked up several in there. Some of them I've had for years, and so I thought I'd go over a couple of them. They can all be found online though. You could order them through Amazon, and you might even be able to get some of them digitally and not even have to worry about a delivery. So the first one is called the Nocturnal Journal, and this is, I guess in theory, it's designed to kind of keep by the bedside, and then when you're having trouble sleeping, you can work through some of them. I personally feel like that would actually keep me awake, because then that would get my brain stimulated. But some of the stuff is just kind of interesting. What gets you out of bed each morning, what sends you to sleep, fill this box with all of your worries. I guess the theory is that if you get some of this stuff out on paper, it's not rattling around in your head, keeping you awake. Things to avoid forever, things to overcome. What would you save in a fire? The worst food you've ever eaten, the worst person you've met, the worst lie you've told. If it were possible to erase a specific memory, would you do it? If you answered yes, gather these two things, pencil and eraser, move on to the next page. And then they want you to write the memory in detail and then erase it. So anyway, there's a ton of these. The author of this one is Lee Crutchley. And the second one, Burn After Writing. So this one is basically like part confessional, part self-exploration. So it's got a thing, like a section called Looking Back. Music I loved as a child, the first thing I bought with my own money, the person I've loved the most. And then there's random little list, like a few of my favorite things: top 5 bands, top 5 albums, top 5 books, top 5 movies. One word to, it says if you could say everything you wanted to say with just one word about each of the following, what would it be? My job, my partner, my body, my love life, my sanctuary, my fear, just all kinds of random. My life in trivia, and then it's the long list of, you know, your birthplace, your siblings, current residence, your computer, your favorite comfort food, all kinds of little random. And then some of them are a little bit more thought-provoking, deeper, maybe more private, not necessarily something you'd share with the world. There is the Bucket List Journal. Create a lifetime of inspiration and purpose. And there's different kinds of bucket lists throughout the books. So it starts off, chapter 1 is the compassion bucket list, and it's full of things: who can I help, how can I help, and then in theory you should do it, and then when you do it, you check off the little bubble that says the world is now a happier place. And then chapter 2 is the learning bucket list. I want to learn, fill in the blank. Why do you want to learn it? When do you want to learn it? And how do you want to learn it? And there's several of those. The obsession bucket list. What do you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? What makes you come alive? Why? What is your ultimate goal in this pursuit? Chapter 4, the gratitude bucket list. This is really cool. Create a list of 100 things to be grateful for. And I kind of like this because I think a lot of people are overwhelmed by the idea of coming up with 100. That seems like a lot of things to feel grateful for, especially when we're living in a time, in a place, in a way where it's so easy to get bogged down by the negative. But I think when you are given the challenge of actually coming up with 100, that you're surprised at some of the things that you find that you know, maybe they don't come to the front of your mind all the time. They get blocked out by more negative thoughts, but when you're pulling them forward, it's easy to see how much you actually do have to be grateful for. There's a spiritual bucket list, an everyday adventure bucket list, creativity bucket list, travel bucket list. Ooh, I'm looking forward to doing that one. Quitter bucket list. This is a good one too, because things I want to quit. Why do I need to do this? When am I going to do this? And how am I going to remove this from my life? And those could be like obvious bad habits, like, oh, I'm gonna quit smoking, or it could be things like, I wanna quit talking negatively to myself, whatever the case may be. Summer bucket list. And then the reverse bucket list, that's where they want you to come up with a list of past accomplishments, things that you accomplished, when you accomplished them, and why are you happy that you accomplished it. Radical bucket list, so that's another fun one. Okay, so this is one I'm actually kind of excited about, mostly because it involves me dragging other people into it, and I'm always interested in that. And I picked these up on clearance at Target, and these are, sorry, I'm pulling a price tag off, it's tacky. My family interviews, and these were pretty neat. There's sections to interview multiple relatives. Now, sadly, I am not in communication with enough of my relatives to fill this book, so I have a feeling that some of my closest friends that I consider family are going to get dragged into this one. So at the beginning of each section, there's a place for you to put down the name of the person that you're interviewing, any nicknames they have, how they're related to you, their date of birth, the place of the interview, and the date of the interview. And then it's filled with all kinds of questions. Describe our family in a few words. There could be a lot of 4-letter words in there. How are we related? And the first few questions are kind of about how they relate to you. The first meeting or encounter with you that they remember. How old was I and what did you think the first time you saw me? Describe how you see me in a few words. And then it gets more into their thoughts on tell me what you've learned about happiness. What does success look like to you? What about life has been your biggest teacher? What was the biggest turning point in your life? Your most cherished memory? Proudest accomplishment? Taste in music or your favorite song? Regrets that you have? Anyway, so it is 50 questions for each person, and you know, it could be a chance to learn some things about relatives that maybe you didn't know before. Maybe an older relative and you don't know as much about their youth, or just, you know, or a chance to kind of get closer with some that maybe you haven't spent that much time with, and you might find you have things in common that you didn't realize before. So that's another one I'm interested in. 300 writing prompts. And I know not everybody is that into writing, but for some of us that maybe we really enjoy it, but maybe you get some writer's block, you get a little stuck. Sometimes you can really get the creative juices flowing just by writing anything. So this stuff is good. In what way are you strong? As a kid, what job did you dream you would have as an adult, and what job do you have now? Although I think for a lot of us, that could just make us feel like we have not accomplished our dreams. Describe a way a friend supported you when you needed it. What's the best pickup line you know? Does anybody know a good pickup line? I don't think there is such a thing. Have you ever been cheated on? If you could change, Wow. If you could change one personality trait about yourself, would you? Which one? Just one? What is one phrase you would really like to hear right now? Imagine your next high school reunion. How do you think your old school friends would react to the person you are today? Well, you know, it's funny because I think the only two old high school friends that I would give a rat's ass about their opinions, they're still in my life. So 3,000 pick one questions. This is something that you could, again, you could get other people into it and create some fun debates. Tom and Jerry or Ren and Stimpy? Dinner party or brunch party? Dates or raisins? Procrastinate or finish early? Drive alone or carpool? Magic spell or magic potion? Bikini Bottom or Whoville? Duh, Whoville. Microsoft Word or Google Docs? Diner Dash or Cooking Dash? Girls or Sex in the City? Sex in the City because Samantha Jones and Screwlina Dunham. 2,000 questions about me. If you could have a child with a famous person, who would it be and for what reason? Oh, Sam Elliott, because, you know, evidence of sexual encounter. What's your favorite way to stay in shape? Who told you the best stories when you were a kid? Do you have money saved for a rainy day? What wild animal scares you? What faux pas do you find socially unacceptable? What's your favorite pizza topping? What's the fanciest place you've ever dined at? Who can you be yourself around? So that brings us to my absolute favorite one, and I've been loving this for the longest time. So this is a unique question and answer book, The Story of Your Life by Philip Keel, all about me. So this is awesome. This is fantastic because it is just the right blend of lighthearted fun and deep thought-provoking. And when I tell you I love this book, I mean it. So I got the first one of these when I was 19 years old, and the very front page is personal facts. You put your name, address, phone number, today's date, the place of your birth, your date of birth, your astrological sign, your profession, and all this stuff. And then you go through and you fill it out, and there are different categories: personal, historical, favorites, the fruits of your labor, morals, God and the world, opinions, family, friends, ego, what you like, what you dislike, yes or no, top 3, wishes and dreams, emotions, memories, choices, fears, measure your fears, psyche, cat and mouse, sexuality, if, and then here and now. And you just go through and you answer all of the things. 3 things you like about your mother, a special compliment that made you blush, 3 qualities your ideal man or woman should possess, the menu for your last dinner might be, one of your most peaceful moments, a smell that reminds you of your childhood, just all of these things. And it's the kind of thing where some of your answers will never change, you know, the place of your birth or birthmarks that you have, whatever the case may be. And some of them change a lot over the years. And I enjoyed this so much the first time I did it that the next year I actually filled out another one, and I was surprised at some of my answers that had changed just in 1 year. So I did one of these, like I said, I did my first one when I was 19, and then I did the next one right before I turned 20. I started filling that one out. So technically it was a little less than a year, and still I had things that had changed. I have another one from when I was 23, and then I filled one out at 25, or just before I turned 25. And then I did my last one at 27. And now I have one to fill out at the age of 40. And I do believe that I had more than that at one point in time, but I think maybe over moves, or one of them got chewed on. So it's possible there were a couple that were past saving. But like I said, it's really interesting to see the way that some things change. There were some that I filled out at 19 and 20 where I was so confident in some of my answers, because you know how it is when you're young and you know everything, and then you get a little bit older and you realize you don't know nearly as much as you thought you did. So it's interesting to see the way that some of my answers changed and became less certain the older I got and the more I knew. So I'm actually looking forward to doing this one and seeing what's changed compared to past years. So this is fantastic. Usually you find it in the self-help kind of section, or, you know, order it online. That's probably the safest right now. And if you're super duper brave, for couples, All About Us. Now, when I say super duper brave, what I really mean is you have to be prepared to deal honestly, because for people that are insecure or have a hard time communicating honestly, if you're the type of person or people that you tell a lot of little white lies and things to keep things peaceful in your relationship, this book has the power to destroy your relationship. So, because there's some stuff in here that's for real deal, like you stay in this relationship out of habit and you're supposed to attach a percentage to that. Or what physical characteristics would you change about your partner? Have you ever cheated on your partner? I mean, all kinds of, and some of them aren't questions about the specific relationship that you're in, but just relationships in general, and even those could cause problems. Like you might have the question, is it ever okay to lie to your partner? And one of you might say yes, and one of you might say no. And the person that said no is looking at the person that said yes, like, what are you lying to me about? So one of the most amusing things that we ever had was point in time where I lived with 3 roommates, and 2 of those roommates were an engaged couple. And so one night we decided to fill this book out for them interview style, because we didn't want either of them to hear each other's answers, because then that might change the way you answered. So one at a time I sat with them on the back porch and basically interviewed them to fill out the book. And then once both of them had gone all the way through the book, then we all sat out there together and we read through the book, reading each of their answers. And there were some looks going back and forth and some more of, what do you mean by that? And it was really, really entertaining for us. That couple's not together anymore, but I don't want to directly blame the book. The breakup came much later. Anyway, so those are a few suggestions that I have in order to conquer the boredom. And some of these are good if you're stuck by yourself, and some are things that you could easily do, like group participation with. It's, you know, could be used to start topics of conversation for, you know, if you've already finished watching the Tiger King documentary and now you just don't know what to do with your life. So I guess that's it for today, and I'll be looking for some more stuff in the future. Let me know which of these books, journals, what have you, that you kind of found the most interesting, or if there's any that you would like me to do a deeper video on, maybe sharing some of my answers to the questions, or maybe working my way through it on video, and give you guys way too much information about my life. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. If you got questions, comments, you want to know the authors of anybody, whatever, leave it in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time. Bye.